You have probably heard me rail on the subject before of PFF, Pro Football Focus, and what it tries to do and how it fails. I now have the greatest example ever of this, and it involves the trashing of Trevon Diggs. Mike Fisher reporting on the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL. Let me make this clear about Pro Football Focus. I admire what they're trying to do. I admire the goal. It's an incredibly lofty one. But I have for years poked fun at Pro Football Focus for what I've called a fool's errand. This is a grandly ambitious project. Now, of course, it's pushed on national television by Chris Collinsworth, so it's really caught on. The grandly ambitious goal of grading every single player from every single team in every single game on every single play, somehow sitting in your cubicle watching the All 22 or whatever, and being able to somehow, with certainty, be able to guess what this guy's assignment was on this play. Whether or not he fulfilled his assignment, whether or not he played well, he did it well. For all 22 guys at all times. And then the grading system, so it has some sort of level of consistency, the guy sitting in the cubicle who's grading the Seahawks-Broncos game has got to use the same exact standard that the guy grading the Cowboys-Giants game is using, which of course is impossible. Absolutely impossible. The grades cannot be balanced. They cannot be fair, no matter how hard you try. And in the case of Trevon Diggs, not only are they not balanced and fair, they're not logical. The most glaring evidence of proof of what I've said about PFF and its grand ambition is now established here. Trevon Diggs leads the NFL with 10 interceptions. That's 3 more than anybody else has. And it's a lot more than most guys have. He's got 2 of them returned for touchdowns. They've come at impactful times in so many cases. This is record-setting stuff. He is a likely Pro Bowl starter. He's probably a first-team All-Pro. He's presently in the top 5, slated to be, the odds say, as a finalist for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. How bad can he be? You'll be stunned. Teams don't throw at him much compared to some. And when they do, Diggs, a centerpiece of a Dallas Cowboys defense that is playing at as high a level as any team in the league, and that's important too. He is maybe the most impactful player on maybe the NFL's best defense in the last 3 weeks or whatever. For the course of the season, in terms of takeaways, the NFL's best team defensively. 4 takeaways in 3 straight games for the Cowboys defense. And if you throw at Trevon Diggs 1 too many times, he makes you pay. I don't know that I need to read off a lot of quotes from what the Cowboys people say about him. You know what Dan Quinn thinks. He says, this nice guy, mild-mannered, but he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, a rare competitor. And on and on and on with the plaudits from the people that use inside knowledge of what Trevon Diggs is and does, and then people that use the eye test. And I think that's really important here. Pro Football Focus is so impressed, however, with the overall play from Diggs that of the 111 eligible cornerbacks in their grading system, he is ranked, you won't even be able to guess this, 89th. That's right, ladies and gentlemen of the Dallas Cowboys jury. PFF grades have 88 cornerbacks in the NFL better than Trevon Diggs. Now, I'm not very good at math, so I'll invite you to help me do math. There's 32 teams in the NFL. For there to be 88 cornerbacks better than Trevon Diggs, that means there's almost 3 on every team. playing better than Trevon Diggs. That's, again, eye test, that's embarrassing. Mathematically, it's impossible. It's impossible that there's 88 guys, cornerbacks, better than Trevon Diggs. There's not even 88 players better than Trevon Diggs, the way he's performing this year. But there's certainly not 88 guys. That means there's 3 guys on the Giants, 3 guys on the Falcons, 3 guys on the Buccaneers, 3 guys on the Broncos, almost, 3 guys on the Cowboys. Who are the Cowboys' 3 cornerbacks who are better than Trevon Diggs? What are we doing here? Obviously, besides the fact that the fool's errand has them going down the wrong paths, maybe there's a way that they weight the importance of certain things, and maybe that's screwing up PFF too. They could be leaning against Diggs because they have stats that seem to indicate kind of a boom or a bust. That he'll give up a play. He's been targeted 88 times. He's allowed 51 catches. That's 58% for 899 yards. That's 17 yards per, okay. Here's where you got to actually watch the game. The New England game, where he has the interception pick 6, but then is involved in giving up the touchdown, 70-yard plus touchdown to Bourne, right? Is that his fault? If you watch the play, because the 17 yards allowed, well, 76 of them or whatever came on one play. And if you watch the play, Diggs and KZ look like they're concerned they're going to collide, concerned they're going to interrupt each other, concerned they're going to interfere. They get a little lost. Now, Diggs, after the game, said it was his fault. But the coaching staff will say that that was a group failure. PFF says 76 yards against you, kid. Sorry, you're 88th. That's not real football. That's using numbers to try to prove a point. And I'll get to the proving a point when we get to A.J. Terrell of the Falcons in a moment. The eye test tells anybody who knows anything about football that Trevon Diggs is good. PFF is telling you he's not good. It also matters about making plays that win games. If I give up a 76-yard touchdown pass every game, but just for the sake of argument, but I get 4 interceptions every game, my defense is good. I don't care about the 76 didn't matter. I'm outdoing you 4-1. That's what matters. I'll tell you something else about the PFF grades. They seem to weigh considerably more on other things rather than the takeaways. The reason that's counterintuitive, besides obviously takeaways, interceptions are the game. Takeaways are the game, offensively and defensively. From what I understand, PFF's grades of quarterbacks are very harsh on them when it comes to interceptions. So if you throw an interception, you suck. If you get an interception, it doesn't mean you're good. That doesn't jibe. How can interceptions be killers for quarterbacks but not important for, or interceptions be killers for quarterbacks but unimportant for cornerbacks? Doesn't match. Now, are there other ways to be successful at cornerback besides getting 10 interceptions? Well, considering the fact that it's not been done very often, it's really hard to find very many comps. I've said many times, I don't know if Trevon Diggs is the best cornerback in football. He's the best playmaking cornerback in football. And by the numbers and the eye test, for a 10-4 team, he's one of the best playmaking cornerbacks in the history of football. Troy Aikman early in the season said Deion Sanders. I don't think so. I don't buy that. Everson Walls was a playmaker without necessarily being, he's a playmaker of the highest standard, not a Hall of Famer. That's fair. Trevon Diggs is a playmaker, but maybe not the best player on defense. Maybe just the best playmaker on defense. So much so that he's going to get Defensive Player of the Year votes. I think PFF has an angle it's trying to push. And this is where the hundreds of guys in cubicles. It better be hundreds of guys, because it can't be the same guy grading all the offense, all the defense, all the linemen, all the offensive linemen, all the punters, all the kickers. It's got to be multiple guys. And of course, the more guys you have, the less consistent your grading is. Falcons' A.J. Terrell is #1 cornerback in the NFL to PFF, and they're pushing him that way. They're saying he should be all pro. They're making their push. They're making their case, maybe because he deserves it. Can't argue against him. He's very good. Wait till you hear his numbers. But also maybe so PFF validates its rankings. Hey, we put a bunch of numbers into a computer. They spit out back to us that A.J. Terrell is the #1 cornerback in football. Let's push that. He's given up only 23 receptions on 52 targets. That's 44%. Way better than Diggs. He's only allowed 150 yards on 23 catches. It's 6 yards per. Now, that really is impressive. Maybe you need to take into consideration what they're doing to the other cornerback. Maybe the scores of the games matter. Maybe teams don't throw against the Falcons because they're beating them on the ground. All kinds of factors. It really is great, though, what AJ's done down there. But he has just 2 interceptions. Does that matter? He's also a good player on a 6-8 team. Diggs might be the best player, the team MVP, on a 10-4 team. Does that matter? More evidence of how PFF has botched this. And I'll stay in Atlanta. Clearly, AJ's having a terrific year. His teammate, Fabian Moreau, is not having a good year. That's the other cornerback. There's nobody in Atlanta that thinks he's having a good year. He has 0 interceptions. He's allowing 65% completion rate. Okay, remember, let's go back to the completion rate allowed for Diggs, which PFF slapped him around for, 58%. Moreau is giving up, percentage-wise, 65%. Super easy pickings on 68 targets. He's graded 3 spots higher. Fabian Moreau is graded as being better than Trevon Diggs. PFF, you got to tear that up and start over. On what football planet is Fabian Moreau experiencing a better season than Trevon Diggs? Ask yourself this in Atlanta, Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith. How many Fabian Moreaus would you trade to get one Trevon Diggs? 5, 3, 10, a million? You can have all the Fabian Moreaus you want on your team. I'll take one Trevon Diggs. My team's better. This huge discrepancy exposes an obvious flaw in the grading system that should be used, because I don't mean to be too disrespectful to PFF. It should be used as a guide, not as a gospel. There's no way that they're right. It's because it's a fool's errand to even try to be right. And I applaud them for their efforts, except for this smells funny. Because there's no football person in the world who thinks there are 88 cornerbacks in the NFL better than Trevon Diggs. And most football people would say there are 0 cornerbacks in the NFL better than Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trevon Diggs. If you enjoy the content and the entertaining presentation here, will you please not only hit the like button, of course, but subscribe. It's free. Cowboy Nation doing that at about 80 people a day are coming aboard here, as we have over 41,000 of us in Cowboy Nation. Get it right, get it straight, get it first. Straight dope, no bullsh. Fish out.